And just like that, it's another Friday. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's Spencer Foreman from WPLaunchFly.com. It is February 16th, 2024. I can't believe it. That's like 2 months almost already out of this year. And I feel like we've just gotten started. I don't know about you. Today, I've got a great topic because this comes from a number of conversations I've had this week. And we're going to talk about what are you really selling? By the way, I've got this new layout here. You're really selling relationships, even if you have online products and services and so forth. So we're going to get into it with three different conversations: websites, email, SMS, and social media. And I want to first do my sound check, because if I don't, I will regret it later. SMS and social media. It's real. It's happening. Everybody should be winding in as usual, and I hope that you join me. I can see the number count going. So I think with this layout, let's set the stage first, and I'm gonna adjust between these two layouts. Good morning, Dr. Krieger. I want everybody to understand too. I'm going to talk about some of the website technology for simplicity. I've got my mic, I've got my audio sorted out. It comes in as the high definition. The camera here is an HD 4K cam. I bought an Envato face cam, but it's StreamYard that's coming in at 720p. So when you watch this, like I do sometimes on a big TV, my quality of image is not so great compared to what you might see from other people. But I've really decided I don't care. Here's why. Because otherwise, to get my beautiful complexion in its full glory would require everybody on the other end. Hi, Chris. Would require everybody on the other end to have exponentially 4 times the amount of bandwidth. And I hope that most of you guys are just listening in. Hi, Andy. Oh, Andy is here. Fantastic. My big fan, Andy, says English. I noticed you're my one and only Instagram fan, I think, but I'm glad you made it. So today's conversation is something that's both topical, as well as, I think, for many of you guys who are here and who are in my audience, really important. So let me set the stage of how this comes about, and then we're going to jump into the 3 topics. And this is going to be something you can listen to or watch. There's a few show and tells, but just a placehold. Conversation is this. I grew up, like I talk about, in the era where I still use one of my first computers. I think they use this on the NASA space program. This is the computer that when I make this joke, there we go, almost every one of you laugh, because almost all the successful entrepreneurs that are in my audience actually use a pad of paper and a pencil. They're constantly writing things down. We are living in a world, it's incredible. Last night, I don't know if you saw Sonora, I think it's called, but OpenAI released this AI ability to make 1-minute plus videos that look like they're produced by a Hollywood studio. Hard to tell from real life. We're living in a world where every day there are an infinite number of new toys, technologies, tools, changes in the paradigm. But without sounding like a Luddite, they are just tools that get you to the thing that you're selling, which is what? It's a relationship. Now, I'm blessed, I think, because although I've had the hero's journey throughout my adult life, there's 3 phases, and I'm in the end of phase 2 going into phase 3. The first phase was like the 0 to, let's say, getting married and having kids phase. And I grew up in an era between the 60s and the 90s for that. I got married in 1997. The having kids phase through getting divorced and getting custody and restructuring things and going from, like the world I was in to the world I was going to be in and where I'm at now, was from like the late 90s to the early 2000s into now we're coming up on the edge of 2020. So like up until I'm 57. Many of you are in your 40s or 50s, I think. The third phase is going to be rocking it, baby. But the thing is, just like avocado appliances and bell-bottom jeans, and just like how kids today are finally being raised by older parents who grew up in that stuff, let to be themselves, to go out and, throw rocks and play ball in the street and everything else, although it's a tough challenge with things like AI constantly pulling them into the screen. The third phase for me represents a return to the beginning, where I could be In relationships with people, we were not distracted, whether it's for social or whether it's for business. We were not distracted by the infinite tools. We had so few tools that we had to focus on being good at relationships, reading people's emotions, speaking with people, understanding what it is that they need. And so what I'm suggesting is, in a world of infinite technology and tools and toys and distractions and shiny ball everywhere, your number one tool is to keep focusing on the human being at the other end of that relationship, and to offer things that are a paradox in a world of, you can push a button and the website's made for you by our infinitely smart robots. No, it's not. You've got to talk to the person, read their face, their visual clues, ask them questions, let them describe for you what their pain points may be. And then what they really want is the intricacies of a human relationship where you actually communicate to them what you feel is their best answer. And it's exactly the same thing that, thankfully, even as of today, we all get from our personal relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's family, whether it's friends. We are tribal in nature. We come from, as physical human beings, we used to live in gangs of 20, 30 people max, and we only trusted those people in our tribe. That's one of the problems of society, where we all get to see everybody from around the world. We're learning, we're getting better at it, but our instincts, our psychological motives and triggers that, as a marketer, I love to tap into, are somebody wants you to hear them, listen to them, appreciate what they're saying, and then help them to decide what's the best solution for them. They do not want, and this is my professional diagnosis, they do not want more toys, more impersonality, more automation. They do not want bots or voice jail. They do not want to be put into a queue. They do not want to use words to describe something in very awkward, like I was using, no offense to the products, but the new website builders that ask you a bunch of mental questions to describe something so that they can plug it into the tool of AI to spit out what you could have just chosen for them by just showing them the site and going, hey, I think this sounds like what you're describing. That is what they prefer over the work that is pushed upon them by the automated tools. Okay, let's talk about this in the context of three main areas, because if you are going to sell something, here am I to validate. It's just 20 years, kids. I'm an overnight success. When I started this whole gig, I came out of the real estate business. I came out of being interested in things like aviation. I had been a trial lawyer. I've done a million things, but every business since I was 10 years old had the same thing. I had a pain point that I wanted to solve. I figured it out for myself. And then I looked in places where other people had the same problem, and I offered to help them for free. And in doing so, I built relationships, one person at a time. But unlike these impersonal businesses, I made sure that the things that I was offering, even if there was some free stuff and low price stuff, led to a big ticket win for something that made the payoff well worth it. And in doing so, what you're really selling is a relationship. You can ensure that no matter what product, what service, what thing you're offering actually is a more valuable ROI, return on your investment, versus things like Facebook ads or affiliate marketing or whatever. Now, I cannot deny that those things work, but there's the one thing that's important to me. Let's go back to you and me. If you are over 40, and I think many of you are, Chris, by the way, is my partner in doing some new stuff with Go High Level. He's not in his 40s yet, but he has the experience. So let's say you're mid 30s and onwards. Think about, in a world where everybody has everything they want, push button away for free. What is the one thing that's going to guarantee you a livelihood in the future? Think about it. I'll give you a second on my $11 Amazfit watch here. Figure it out yet? It's easy. In a world of robots and infinite automation, the one thing that will differentiate you, no matter what technology it is, on the screen, in your headset, implanted in your brain, is the human relationship, the human persona that you bring to helping somebody solve their pain points. And so for me, going into that third phase, what's Spence going to do? Monday is my big surgery. My back will be fixed. I'll be back to pickleball. I'll be doing all my stuff. I am planning, I am preparing, I am gearing up all of my business things towards that very simple notion. Spence needs to have selling human relationships, pain points to people in a way that can still be scalable, but that ultimately really surrounds Spence being the concierge in people's lives. And it doesn't matter if the thing you deliver is fully automated or you have an army of 100 people working for you. The thing that matters is that you put your name and your face up front in the relationship. And yes, it is a time-consuming thing to have, let's say, free calls for 15 to 30 minutes, but compare the cost. Let's do that real quick, and then we'll do the three things. I, for example, charge $300 per hour, and people have been gladly paying me that because the thing I do in that 1 hour solves exponentially more than the $300 of cost to them. If I took 15 minutes out of that hour, that's 75 bucks, okay? I get people who call me for free. Sometimes the calls are 15 minutes. Sometimes I go for the full hour if they look like a prospect. What do I get out of it? I will get typically somebody who will pay me $300 for a 1 hour follow-up plus $97 for my kit. Or maybe they just buy the, let's say, $97 kit. The point is that if they stay for more than a month, typically people do, that's 97, 97, 97. It ends up being, I think, roughly $1,040 something, $44 a year. Even if they stay for a month or two. The point is, I get an almost guaranteed closing on almost everybody who calls these days because I've learned what people say, what they ask, what they do, and how to adjust while I'm speaking to them, telling stories, being human, how to fit the real thing they want. They want me to spoon feed. Maybe many of you feel this way about our relationship, and I love that. I know about you. I know about your families, your wants, your desires. You know about me, my problems, my family. We have a friendship. We have a personal and a professional relationship. But the point is, it's a value-driven proposition for both you as well as for me on the time spent versus, oh, Spence is going to do a Facebook ad and send you over to an impersonal page with a video or something. Yeah, sure, that can work. That's great. But then what happens is when people have real troubles, they get pissed off. They're like, well, who am I going to talk to? I can't go into your bot, Spence. I can't go into your voice jail. I can't hope for some person I've never met from overseas to answer my call. I wanted you. So the concept in general is how to package up for your third phase of life, or even if you're in the second phase, like Chris and so forth, maybe it's first to second, that you need to figure out how to box up, how to productize the service that has you as the name in the face in some way or another, and that makes people understand that what they're really buying from you is your personal promise, your guarantee that what they're getting is a concierge who will be there at the end of the line for whatever else they need. And over time, I can understand and completely assure you that the technology is not going to wait for any of us. It's going to keep changing. Even as of today, like I said, last night they released that Sonora or Sorana, I can't remember what it is, the AI thing that OpenAI is doing with the video. It's incredible. But man, that was 12 months. They released what looked like the Flintstones, and now it's doing 4K human-like videos. I mean, I don't think we're going to be long for the screens. I mean, I think we're going to be moving into headsets and, augmented reality quickly enough, which means that's another whole game changer that people are going to ask you to help them with. Now, let me use a couple examples too, because since Andy is here, I don't want to misquote, but we had a great conversation, and she offers English language services. And I asked her a series of whys, and we'll talk about this from a marketing standpoint, if I may use it as an example. A perfect business that's a relationship business. Why? Well, most of her customers, she self-identified, are coming to the website, but they're really somebody who is English as a second language, but is going to do business with primarily American customers. I cannot say how important it is that the differences between the culture and the way to say things in Europe versus America, maybe. And now this is subject of humor and subject of great, marketing strategy. But Americans are really, really different than the rest of the world on how they want things. So if you're, like in Andy's case, going to be teaching the linguistics or the language, the way to say stuff, it's really important that you sell that. Because the question is, why do these people who are her students want to learn English as a second language or to improve it with her? It's because they're either getting jobs or they have clients. And so by referencing the outcome, the benefit, the value of focusing on those things versus generically, you can cater to the real reason that they're buying the service. And similarly speaking, if we're talking about like Dr. Krieger and I, we were talking the other day about some of his things. He's an expert in 501c3s. He's an expert in wildlife preservation. The brand that he's built around Save the Frogs is doing tremendously well, but he also has a Zero to Webmaster business. And when we talked about it, I suggested that putting the same services of the Zero to Webmaster together under, in a way that will allow, legally and tax purposes, under the same value and brand and persona that he's built with Save the Frogs is a huge value, because that's really what's going to draw people in. Look, Dr. Krieger is the one that did this whole other thing. He's clearly successful and knows what he's doing. He's the guy that I want to hire for my own 501c3. All right, so let's talk about, I'm going to go to my new slide layout here. Let's talk about, let's see if I can do this one by one. I'll do my down arrow. Let's see if that works. It worked. Let's talk about websites. So one of the things that's interesting when you talk about how you really sell a relationship is that you can either offer a simple product or service that's available for people to read about, learn about, click to buy, or you can do what I think is better, which is, if you can afford to do so, and if the product that you're selling hopefully has a high enough value to pay for itself, I would highly recommend you go the same path that I've shown you here, which is, I have a catch-all. I am very clear in the billboard, we'll talk about this in a second, what it is that's the pain point, what I do to solve it or where I focus, and what the call to action is. But the call to action in this case is very clearly a free call. It starts with a free consultation, book a free call. This is all you see, and this is well proven. Why? Well, let's talk about the call to action based on the first part. The pain point or the pretty picture you put up on your website should be, why is it that anybody cares if you imagine them driving down the highway at 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, past this thing, and they've got 3 seconds to read what you're about, okay? Why should be about, selfishly, their pain, their desires. What is it you do? For example, I help you, we help you create profitable WordPress solutions. It's a little broad, but we get the idea. Profitable WordPress solutions help. You might be driving down the highway and you see a billboard that says, hungry for cheeseburgers, need a divorce lawyer, building a new home. The point is, you need to, in as few words as possible, paint a picture of what it is that the pain might be, or what it is that you could help somebody create. The details in the next line are more like, how do you bring that to the table? So in my case, well, it's kind of like the big things that most people are asking about, membership, marketing automation, courses, e-commerce, Buddy Boss to a certain extent. If you were in the cheeseburger example, it's best cheeseburgers in Chicago. We've got the bacon. Or divorce lawyers, it could be save your money, stop fighting with your ex-spouse, get on with it, do it for the kids, whatever. The call to action, though, is where you have a choice. And in today's world, I cannot emphasize enough how important it would be to just get people on a free call, unless you're selling such a low ticket item that you have to sell 100 of them to be worthwhile. But if it ends up being something in the close to $100 or $100 or more, you can afford 15 minutes call with anybody, because even if you don't sell them, you will learn as much as you ever could imagine about what people's pain points are, what they want, what they desire. So going back to, Andy or Dr. Krieger, learning that her clients are Europeans or in Asia and they're working in America on a job or technology, and that's incredibly valuable information. And so by having the free call, you give yourself the chance and give them the chance. Hey, let's have a cup of coffee. I want to learn more about your family. What do you want to do with your life? How's things going? Okay. The mechanism that you use for this is really simple. I'm not going to do any mechanics today, but like what I do is I just send them directly into the CRM or into my calendar, depending on the situation. Even if you go right into my calendar first, they get in my CRM. Why? because then I've had the fishbowl that somebody's put their card into. I've seen the conversation. I have a Fathom video that records what we talked about that I give to them as a free takeaway. Everybody loves it. So rather than spending a budget on Facebook ads and trying to come up with words that match everything, I just make it clear. Here's a billboard that's generally what's going to solve your pain, paint a pretty picture. Let me come listen to you talk about your problems for a little bit of time. Amazing. Super simple. I want to show you the alternative. So like if we went to WP Fusion, here's a software. Jack and I talk about this all the time. If you want to get help, you can get help. You have to dig one level deep to go, hey, it's fun. But I'm wearing the WP Fusion shirt today. That's not the primary offer. In this case, because it's software and because there is so much SEO built into our documentation and stuff, we have a bifurcated offer here. Get started would let you just go right to buying it. Try a demo would let you try this in a ready to go, demo site. The get help is documentation and so forth. So in this case, because it is a piece of software and because there are many people who kind of already know what they want to do with that, it's like a hardware store selling a part versus the person at the hardware store at the counter. So it just depends on your business. But even here, you'll notice there is the personalization built in. And this is where I get a large, hey, it's Spence. I get a large number of leads because people not only come here during the buying process, but they also get an email follow-up if they buy the product or try the product so that they know they can have this call. I also put in, again, some of the same tools that you guys have that I noticed doesn't show up. But if you were on this third thing, see, I'm on the email address here. This doesn't show in the overlay, but there's a modal overlay that lets somebody choose. Like if I chose active campaign, you can maybe see here. And this is a really neat way for me to get a free chance to understand just a little bit more, first name, last name, email, and what things are essentially interesting to them. So when we go into the call, I'm cheating a little bit in a good way. I know a little bit more about everybody. Okay. So when it comes to the websites, the most important thing would be, I'll give you another one of my own stuff, launchflows.com. Again, I'm using my own brands just to keep this super simple. This is a product. I do not offer on this page like a personal call directly, but I do offer it in the sense of everything else. So there's a Facebook group, there's YouTube's video, there's the spencerforman.com. You get led to WP Launchify if you go to buy it. So if you choose this, watch, this actually takes you to WP Launchify, where you get put into the same personalized thing where somebody always knows Spence is on the other line to that. Now look at my contact. It's super duper duper old school. Immediately people in Europe always ask me, Spence, oh my God, I'm so worried that people are going to spam me. Well, guess what I found? This is truly ironic. By putting up my Google Voice phone number, or you can do Twilio, or by putting up my real email, by putting up an office address, for God's sake, a real office address. I have not yet had one single person abuse this, versus when I use a contact form, like through Elementor or for any other type of, Gravity Forms, Fluent Form. If I put up a contact form, the bots are all over me like moths to a flame. The point of the story is by having your name, your face, some personal contact, even if it is a larger company and brand, you assure people that's the woman, that's the guy, that's the person, that's the entity that is going to be holding my hand, spoon feeding me, taking care of me. Okay. So can't emphasize enough that one way or the other, make sure that you've got that personal contact built in to whatever it is you have for your websites. Next, email and SMS. Now, is Dallas here today? I don't know if Dallas is tuning in. Dallas is doing a great website over at Rising Reed, and he is selling, I love this because I'm a musician. You kind of see I got my piano there in the corner. Downstairs, I have a full studio where I play with my dad band. I play guitar, bass, piano, lots of instruments. I was fascinated because he's selling and doing very well, selling accordion lessons one-on-one. And we actually had a debate about this, because the thing about email and SMS is, let's talk about the 3 ways to communicate with people that isn't in person, right? Because we're talking obviously about you're going to do a Zoom call, but they are that metal box sitting outside my door. I think they call it a mailbox. Ironically, I think I mentioned this last week. I had somebody send me this. This is the first piece of paper I got inside of that box. In the old days, the box used to be filled every day with stuff. Now nothing's in there. This was called a check, kids. I have an actual client who's an entity in Texas that decided that they are still sending checks, which, by the way, I opened the metal box. I took out the one piece of paper. I'm like, that's odd. Nothing else in here. Opened this envelope, took a picture with my phone to deposit the money that I think is on the other end of this piece of paper. But that just goes to show how ridiculous the world has become. It's like somebody is taking a video of your horse and buggy and SMSing it to somebody who wants to take a ride in your electric car. It's like we've got all the metaphors working in the same world, but they just don't make sense. But nevertheless, the mailbox, mail, used to be the busiest channel. Now it is your least busy channel. Ironically, if you want a really, 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 really fascinating relationship, send a postcard to people. There are services that will allow you to do that. You will freak people out in a pleasant way when it's like, it was great to talk to you. And by the way, do one of those services, if you don't do it personally, that looks like, if you don't actually send it yourself, that looks like you signed it, and make it very personal. Like, it was great talking to you Tuesday, blah, blah, blah. I have an aunt who is an amazing artist. She always sends me these handwritten packages of her handmade stationery and notes, and it drives me bonkers. She lives in California, but like, it puts so much, it's like guilt, because I'm like, that was a lot of personal effort. I really appreciate that. I also appreciate when I get bling. I had some new bling from Go High Level came in today. Like, I love bling. I love things in the mailbox. So mailbox is an incredibly great way to get the attention. Like, wow, you went over and above. Like sending flowers in the old days, very romantic, old-fashioned gesture. Email and SMS. This is where the conversation with Dallas came in yesterday. Do not misunderstand your clients. Now, I was very prescriptive when we spoke about this, and I said, Dallas, nobody wants the anxiety or the stress of you emailing them 9 times to remind them of an appointment or a follow-up to nurture them. Nobody wants 12 text messages. And I stand by that. I have 150 to 300 emails a day. I cannot stand to have more than one simple reminder written to me, just like I would write to somebody if I was in a hurry and they were in a hurry. Spence, I'll see you at 12 o'clock. Or like you guys get, if you get my my notices. I send one newsletter a week, and it's usually like 2-3 paragraphs with maybe there's an image of me at the top, so you know it's from me, and maybe I'll have like an image of the YouTube video for the thing that I'm talking about. Because what I want you to feel like is, I respect that you're busy, and when you open my email, it's like, this is what I need you to do. It's just like the billboard. It's a call to action. Here's your pain. Here's what I'm doing. Click the button. You're done. I don't want to force you to have to come back and wade through my email. And absolutely, there is no way that anybody wants to wade through your 4,000 word graphically oriented index of stuff. I do have a guy, I don't know if he's got an index here, Ben's Bites. This is one sort of weird exception to the rule. Ben's Bites does AI stuff. He sends out a great email list. I probably have to show you if he's got the archives. I'm not sure if he's got the archives in here. Daily Digest. So I subscribe to this. Now, I don't know if this is going to list it out. So you can, yeah, here we go. So I love this newsletter. It's awesome. But man, I've got like 8 of these things lined up in my email box, causing me anxiety. Look at all the links. Now, that's cool because that's what a lot of people are paying him for. But me, I don't like this. I wish he would just say Ben's Bite and send me 1 bite a day would be better than, look at this thing. It's an Encyclopedia Britannica, and he's doing incredibly well. I mean, this is a relationship question. I cannot deny there are businesses that do this kind of stuff, but you know what I think? It's because he's selling to a different audience with a different purpose. He's selling something that is essentially a sponsored newsletter, not the driving somebody to a profitable relationship where they pay him. He's not selling anything with him. He's selling this. So it's just a comparative, but I think more close to what I like would be, I think it was it was called once.com. This is interesting. I was inspired for my new Pufka product by Jason Fried and David Hennemeyer Hansen, who started Basecamp, Campfire, and other stuff. They're Chicago guys. They lived in my neighborhood. At least Jason did. And he's talking about like they're offering their software now, pay for it once. And look at even the website. It's just sort of simple, old school. I totally am ripping this off for Pufka's landing page because it's saying the same thing. Stop overwhelming people with too many choices. Just make your email simple, say less, get to the point. Do one text message, not 4. Build a relationship based on if you give your name, your phone number, your email, people can reach back to you out of respect. You don't have to bang them on the head or pretend that they have time to wade through and be nurtured by every single thing that you offer just because you've got a tool to do it. Finally, social. So from a social standpoint, this is always going to be personal, but there's an infinite array of people who either social networking or social media feel that they have to be like putting out Gary Vaynerchuk, 10,000 things a day. I have a different spin on this. So I am capable of creating lots of content. You guys are here. You know that I do 1 office hours a week, and now I added a couple other spin-offs of this for the different business stuff, right? I'm doing Marketing Hub Ideas, Marketing Hub Solutions, but those are just take them or leave them, watch them later. They're very topical. When it comes to social media, I'm most active on once a day, taking my phone, and I know Andy is my fan there because I see her, and I use the phone while I'm walking. I've got 60 seconds to say something that is not pitching a product or a service, but just puts me in front of people. Is like, there's somebody who said something that I feel the same way about. I usually talk about mindset or being a creator or struggling with real life problems because let's be honest, that's what we all go through. And in doing so, it's been very easy for me to get people driven. Andy is my biggest fan. She is. And I love what she's doing too. So Andy, give me your link to your site and I'll post it up here. I think it's Andy says English, right? Andy says English. So he's got a wonderful site. And this is a great example as well of how, let's hope it kicks in here, Andy, if I put the right URL in. There it is. So I love her glasses. I love her style. She's just really got it all presented. But what we were talking about was how she can get more people to convert. And I'll let her decide what she's going to do about that. But there's some things on her site, but the concept itself is terrific. So back to like the idea of what could I do that I'm willing to put out that is not overwhelming to people. I decided, and there's lots of celebrities that do this too. There's the one guy I follow. I mean, there's a couple guys. Stanley Tucci does this. There's the guy Steve Gutenberg does this. I even saw Steve Martin doing it. The girl from the Bangles. I got 1 minute while I'm walking to make a video on something that I feel is relevant to my life as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a person in their 28s, the second time around. And in doing so, I think that makes me more human to other people because everybody, I think, is figured out with social media that all these social media, influencers are all struggling. That nothing is really, as I say, I would rather be Spence, who's like for 20 years wearing it on my sleeve. I mean, really my whole life wearing it on my sleeve because that's why I'm here. I'm a spiritual being having a human existence, struggling through all these problems. And I bet that my ability to demonstrate how I can get through these problems will make me more human, more like the kind of person you don't have a relationship with because I can empathize with, but also help to solve problems having been through it versus that gorgeous, beautiful influencer living in Bali with no problems with $1 jillion in the bank. And if they even have kids, the kids are perfect in every way. Real life isn't that, clean. It's very messy. It's very difficult. And social media to me is something that you should do that isn't an extra job. It should be something that fits into what you're already doing in a format that fits your needs, that fits your style. I do like being on camera. If you're not going to be on camera, you have to come up with something that at least demonstrates you are the human being behind it and then drive that towards an outcome. So I have clients, for example, like Marnie Kinrys was a client of mine back when, and we helped her, the Wing Girl. She is incredibly great on camera. She sells dating advice. Now, her website is a mix of things from the 90s when Seinfeld and Friends were on TV, all the way up to today. I helped her when we worked together put together things like this of taking her archive of products and making them more presentable. But she has done an amazing job with herself and her other helpers to put together all kinds of weird stuff like you're seeing popping up. But the point is, if you go to her YouTube channel, she makes, I don't, this is adult only content, but she makes videos that basically talk about the things that are pain points. And now I think she had maybe 350,000 subscribers. She's just done an amazing job, not really because of me, but like I was there to help her at the point of fixing a lot of stuff, to 1.2 million subscribers. And so what we did do together, which you can see in here, is when she makes these videos, all of the videos have a link. Sorry about the adult content here, that the links go to her product pages. Ta-da, like really ridiculous, right? How you can barely see it here, but if I clicked here, this goes from her YouTube video to one of the sales pages. Okay, and so my whole point in bringing this to your attention is, get me back on screen. Make some content that demonstrates you as a human being. Thank you, Andy. And I'm your biggest fan too. Oh, touch note. That's a good for the postcard idea. Touch note sends great postcards. Make content for social that fits your schedule, fits your mindset, fits your whatever you want to expose. So let's review what I do. I do one Instagram type video a day because I like the way it puts the text and everything else. I download it and then I post it to Twitter, now called X, kids. LinkedIn used to be a great place to meet people. Now it's a bit like I can only publish because everybody there is a kid who thinks that it's a good idea to immediately send me all kinds of spammy shit. I have no idea what's wrong with them. But for me, it's a great place professionally to have your credentials and to put one directional publishing. And then I take advantage of Facebook groups. I wish Threads would have become something, but Threads I just do now as a matter of habit. I think Threads it's not going to make it. But those three channels, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn, are primarily where I put the content. And obviously it lives on Instagram, but I have like maybe 5, 6, 7,000 people on each of the other channels. I got like 103 people who are basically friends of mine on Instagram, except for Andy, which I appreciate. But the point is I use Instagram just as a simple way to make the videos. And even when I post them up into my YouTube channel, I've already got it made. So it's like zero extra work. I do it on one of my laps around the park. If you do this, what happens is you can compile it. And so let me show you what I've done here. With spencerforeman.com, I decided that my social, instead of having 16 different social handles, I simply have one social handle under the spencerforeman.com brand, which is my hub of like, this is what I'm up to, but I don't really send people here with purpose other than to go to the content area. And so here I've used the WP Launch Kit or Marketing Hub tools to make a searchable index that has all my content, both on the actual social media channels, as well as primarily here when I publish, I will put the latest episodes of whatever I'm doing. Let me make that bigger. The latest episodes of what I'm doing. So I can just say to people in a conversation, they say, "Who are you, Spence?" And I go, "Well, I'm Spencer Foreman. Don't you know who I am?" No, I never say that. I say, "I'm Spencer Foreman. I've been in WordPress for 20 years and blankety blank, here's all the things that I talk about and do in addition to my brands, which are all listed here." So this is just a hub, but it also gives me credentials and credibility. I have the social proof. I have the latest content. If somebody does go to my YouTube channel, they can not only see like, here's me in the park talking about, "Hey, it's Spence." And that's the idea. It makes it simpler for me to just make less stuff and not try to become Gary Vaynerchuk. Like my job is social media. My social media just puts somebody into, let's review. I have a simple place where everybody goes because I happen to have several different products and services. I use Spencer Foreman as the consolidator, but each of those main brands, starting with WP Launchify, do the same thing we talked about. So let's wrap it up and say, I think the takeaway for everybody here today is this. If you want to win, remember you're selling a relationship. You're really interested in getting the other person's understanding, mindset, what's their pain, what's their pleasure, helping them see that you are similarly situated. You have experience one step ahead of them in solving the problem. And it doesn't matter what the technology may be, because whether it's today, tomorrow, into the future, you are going to be the person like the concierge at the Four Seasons Hotel that they can pick up the phone and call. And by the way, I want to mention, I have over the last 20 years, over 50,000 now, students, clients, relationships. It's incredible to me. I wish I had started doing this evergreen method way back when, because evergreen means that if everybody goes in very simply into one process, I could probably have, I maybe have 8,000 or 9,000 people actively involved with me now, but like I could have 50,000 people that I've got this ongoing relationship, because I cannot tell you how often it happens that somebody calls me out of the blue, and I just have a good visual memory from like 15 years ago, like, Spence, remember about, I'm like, oh man, where have you been? And I sometimes even see there's some people in the WordPress space that are still carrying around the badge that when they worked with me on 1WD TV, they still got my 1WD like profile badge and stuff. So building relationships is a guarantee to being healthier, wealthier, wiser, and just generally having a better life while you're going through what you're going through, which is the whole point. Making a living, building relationships, being a human being. I hope today was helpful. I do have a show that we pushed back an hour till noon today with Kurt, who I'm doing this Marketing Hub solutions. So if we go over here, in case you have an interest in coming to join us, we're going to talk about the easiest way to sell your live and online events. And this is another example of using the same tools you guys have access to, whether it be the Launch Kit, the Marketing Hub, or Poofka, my new one-click solution for everybody to sell or use themselves. We're going to show you how we can make it really easy for anybody to sell a ticket for a small business. This may be applicable to you, or it might be applicable to your clients. It's using the same stuff in the kit. We're just only using a small portion of it. Other than that, I'm going to wrap it up early today. I want to say thank you to everybody. I'm going to give my Spence personal update. I am cleared for takeoff Monday morning, 10:30. My little surgical tweak. I'm going to give him his little endoscope, and he's going to go in, he's going to nibble away the little stuff around my nerve. And hopefully that is going to put me back into pickleball fighting form. I have a couple new pickleball partners, and my other pickleball team members have also joked with me that they've all gone off and had surgery over the winter. One of them is in Cleveland now having hernia operation like I had a year ago. So, hey man, just keep maintaining your own car. Let me know if you have questions. If you've not already done so, reach out and say hi. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing everybody on the next video. And thank you, Andy. I especially want to see you out there, Andy. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everybody.